Phase Zero is a retro survival horror game, very much in the vein of Resident Evil. I mean, this blood is thick with RE. It feels very authentic. The tankiest of movement controls, fixed camera angles, PlayStation 1 graphics. I'm very fond of the Resident Evil series, so to me, this is gorgeous in every way. And the demo is a stellar showcase of what this experience might have to offer. Set in Flint Peak, you wake up in a zombie-infested hospital, you're shotgunning your way through, there's a scientist guiding you, but you find evidence of strange and sinister experiments in the basement. From the trailer tease at the end, it looks like there will be another player character as well, so like an RE2 Leon Claire situation. I'm really hoping the full game delivers, because I'd love to play this. Pocket Wheels is an objective-based 3D platforming car game. I'm avoiding the word racing for now, because at least in the demo, I only ever raced myself, as in a time trial. The game seems more based on you're a tiny toy car exploring the area and completing objectives to collect batteries, which are what you need to open the next area. There are also coins, which can buy other vehicles. I liked it. It showed promise. I'm into the objective-based racer. Last year I had fun with Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom. And there's something about the Hot Wheels small toy in a playroom or other normal-sized environment setting that always tickles me. The controls here felt good, but you do feel very floaty, which might be detrimental to the experience, or may just take some getting used to. The combination between driving, gliding, and boosting did make for entertaining play. It's just in any precision that you'd probably need to get good at drifting and rolling. Klostyn is a very authentic late 90s style first-person shooter. It'd fit right alongside the first Turok, Quake, Dark Forces 2. So you, Ethan Nova, crash land on a planet and start lighting up space pirates while navigating through a blocky jungle with ruins. And the funniest part is he's not a soldier, he is an archaeologist. It's absolutely authentic. A lot of fun to play. I'd certainly pick this one up down the line. I played about 25 minutes of the demo before missing a jump on a cliffside and getting booted all the way back to the start of the game because I had forgotten to save. So I don't know how you get more true to the old breed than that. Cosmic Fear is a first-person exploration Lovecraftian game. Honestly, I really only bring this one up because it so reminded me of, in the early 2010s, a lot of indie horror games came out that felt a lot like this. It was a time when the tools were just becoming available to more easily make fairly open areas with a good amount of foliage. So you'd have many of these empty outside spaces where the suggestion was that we're building tension by having nothing happen, or having, a little thing to examine now and then, but really it was just a constraint of development. The game felt a lot like that, starting from the boring font choice of the menu. Less empty, for sure, than those old ones, and it does have the fidelity of a modern game. Looks kind of nice, even. And things like font, may just reflect the pre-release build. I did have to call it when the second key I found fit no door I'd found, and I got tired of wandering around. This is a solo developer who has released a couple of similar games in the past. Atmospheric, science fiction, walking sim adventures featuring a lot of outdoors. And I say, hey, good on ya. This demo did have some strong pigs. Good pigs. The Ballad of Bonky is a brawler-type adventure done in claymation. So apparently all the characters and such were modeled for real out of clay. The modeler even shoots a little video for the credits. But you play as Bonky and his pal Puncho infiltrating a facility to film evidence of aliens. Very zany, very manic. It has a lot of fun little details, like some enemies flying towards the screen when you bonk them. And you do a lot of bonking, which justifies the character's name. When you hit most enemies, they start bouncing around the room like a pinball, and you can hit them again to speed them up or whack them into other enemies, sort of comboing them. It's fun. There were a couple of early meme references that made me kinda nervous. One character says, "Diggy diggy hole," when they break an obstruction, which is that Yogscast song. And at one point you hear that, "Wow!" anime girl reverb sound effect that was originally from Parodius. Thankfully, the rest of the game's charm overcame my initial concern that it might be using reference as a crutch. Also, I admit, I'm an old man by internet standards. Those specific memes are actually ancient by this point, so they're nostalgic for people in their 20s. Anyway, Bonky's got something good going on. I hope it can carry that sense of freestyle inventiveness through a full game. Crescent County is a broom-riding witch open-world racing/delivery job game. Big, colorful land, chill beats to broom to. Young adults trying to find their way in the world. It's a certain vibe, you can probably tell. The broom riding itself feels very good. Being that you're hovering, I guess it's more like a futuristic racer than a real-world simulation, so think Wipeout more than Burnout. But like Burnout, your drifting is what allows you to boost, rather than having to hit boost pads on the road. I always like that kind of system a lot more, where you're enabling your own speed with the way you race. On that note, roads let you get more speed than off-road, and highways do you even better. Plus, because you're on a broom, you can really get some air and truly glide, and you pass through windmills to keep aloft. It's nice, it feels nice. The gameplay loop is chaining delivery targets in the open world. Seems like sometimes you'll have to race others, sometimes you'll have to do little tasks other than just get to point B. You get money you can use to upgrade your broom's stats. We'll see how the characters are in the final product. Right now, the only notable thing about the dialogue was that almost no sentences in the speech bubbles have closing punctuation, which irks me more than it should. Even more egregious when there are multiple sentences in the bubble, and the first one has to have a period so that it's not all one run-on sentence. So like, you know how grammar works, we're just choosing to eschew it to appear more casual. And then the other thing is, it doesn't run so well right now, but it doesn't even have a release date yet, so hopefully performance gets ironed out. Framing Dawes is a point-and-click adventure, dark fantasy. Definitely one of the multitude over the years riffing on Alice in Wonderland vibes. You even have a rabbit companion with you. But it's dark because the rabbit is a zombie rabbit, and your character has been framed for murder. Really, the only reason I'm talking about this one is I found it fascinating in that it feels straight out of the 2000s. Its visuals, writing, gameplay, music, all of it feels like this game was made 20 years ago and is only being unearthed now. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's kind of charming. And the reason I don't think it's an intentional, self-aware throwback is because all of the writing and dialogue is so overly verbose that it feels like someone genuinely pouring themselves into the creation of this world and these characters. So this feels like a DeviantArt / Wattpad Die Hard making a game in 2025. I probably won't ever end up playing it myself, but I could see this being appealing and even nostalgic in a way. VORON is a crow game, a raven game. You play as a bird in a Norse-inspired small open world. You're flying around. I enjoy games where you can fully fly around. I also enjoy games where you can full-on beef the landings and go ass over tea kettle. Very amusing. The demo features your silent protagonist and their family. You're learning to fly. You're finding monoliths that teach you arcane words. Your main thing is to usher souls to the afterlife. The game says you're saving them. And at the end of the demo, you're off to meet the gods when something catastrophic happens, so we'll see what the main plot entails. Right now, the game could use a little stylistic sauce here and there, but it's definitely a good proof of concept. I think it could be pretty delightful. Rue Valley is a narrative adventure game. The demo kinda just drops you in, but I think it's about a guy attending therapy sessions at a desert motel for some reason. At the start, you basically choose mental illness attributes, so I assume that's the focus of the protagonist's story. But the game's description also says you're in a time loop. Admittedly, I didn't get too far into the demo before getting a bit bored. It's very possible I just wasn't in the right headspace, or I chose the wrong attributes for a vertical slice like this. I made my guy a paranoid introvert, which blocked me from a lot of dialogue checks. Or it's possible the game just isn't hitting without proper context, I don't know. Or the game is navel-gazing and boring, I guess that could be a possibility. But I'd withhold judgment like that on just a demo basis, for a game in this genre especially. All I can do is really relay my first impression. It did have a neat comic book style presentation, which could make it stand out. And some of the Disco Elysium folks had praise for the demo actually, so what do I know? Ardenfall is a first-person RPG, immersive like an Elder Scrolls style RPG. This demo is labeled 2022 demo, and even at Game Startup and on the official website, they explain that it's over 3 years old and no longer represents the quality of the product. But they also say they removed it from Steam, except I played it through Steam, so I don't know. But just putting out there that this is a very outdated showing. A game changes a lot in 3 years. I didn't play much of this one because I feel like I got the gist, and I'd probably still try this when it releases someday because I like Elder Scrolls. There simply aren't that many Scrolls-likes around, even now. So, RuneScape-esque graphics. Yeah, that's fine, no problem. Some wonky physics. Probably already been fixed. I wanted to play just enough to establish that the bones are there, which they are. Swords and sorcery, looting items, exploring locations. Playing such an outdated vertical slice otherwise doesn't really feel necessary to me. We'll see how it is on release. Clover Pit is a roguelike, grungy-themed gambling strategy game. You're in a dank room with a slot machine, and you have 3 rounds to meet a coin debt total with your earnings from the machine, or else you're plunged into the pit. You earn tickets on success to purchase charms that act as modifiers and trigger effects, and you have some interest earned after every round. You also get a phone call after every success, where you can choose one of 3 larger modifier or immediate effects. I've never liked gambling myself, and I don't tend to like roguelites with a lot of chance involved, but I can look past my bias here and tell you it's got something to it, this Clover Pit. There are a few of these every year that hit something vital for those who can get addicted to the genre, and this one may very well be on the podium. I think probably what at first seems like a very chance-based system, like what you'd expect from a real-life slot machine, is actually a very manipulatable system once you know what you're doing. I just get that sense, even with my failure to capitalize on it. Dead Horizon is a point-and-click adventure game set in what I think is an alternate world, reminiscent of the Wild West. You play Bonnie Starr, a shootist who gets tangled up in a plot to find free water under the noses of the water barons and their hired guns, which of course means Bonnie has to go on the run. Most of the gameplay is point-and-click, examining things, talking to people with dialogue options, finding and using items, you know. Then there are shooting segments in the vein of a rail shooter, where you actually have to aim and click like a light gun game. Solid stuff in the demo. I like the genre writing and how the dialogue text is painted by what would be the speaker's cadence. I always like that. I also like how it seems there's multiple ways to approach many of the puzzles or the set pieces. Like for instance, in my hurry, I skipped getting some bullets from my revolver at one point, so instead, I bluffed my way past several armed men with an empty pistol based solely on Bonnie's reputation. I hope there's a good amount of that in the game, that kind of stuff. Project Timi, Sasha's Curse, is a 3D puzzle rhythm game. I have never played Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, but this gameplay might be like that to an extent, as in you're crawling around a 3D maquette level, basically solving it as a puzzle to get to the end. And along the way, there's also collectibles and sometimes other side objectives you can do. Interspersed with those are enemy encounters where you place traps down on grid spaces to capture enemies who move to the rhythm of the music. There are also boss battles that are more complex versions of that setup. It's very nice, and the demo at least is very polished. I was blown away by the full animated opening to the game, and further animated cutscenes during the game. You don't see that every day with indie developers. And the gameplay loop itself seems like an enjoyable and charming time that players of any age could enjoy, like a Nintendo experience. I do wish the title of the game was a little more catchy, because I'm not sure it communicates the color and the appeal of the game. The story is that you're an intern dream catcher named Timi, basically a dream witch, working with a penguin named Mr. Moon to stop Sasha the cat from giving people nightmares. Simple fare, but they could have called it, Dreamcatcher Timi or Timi and Mr. Moon, something to inject a little magic for people scrolling past the words. I think the game will deserve that. Full Fathom is supposedly an oceanic survival horror game, which sounds super up my alley. You're supposed to be able to pilot a submarine, seemingly with some degree of immersion where you have controls and repairs in the interior through quote-unquote grim waters. I say supposedly because the demo crashed upon doing the second thing the game asked of me. I took a VHS tape out of a Dropbox, inserted it into a nearby TV, it tried to load a cutscene, I assume, and the demo crashed. I tried it multiple times, tried lowering settings and recording it a different way, not recording it at all, no dice. Which, unfortunate. I wanted to try this one. So instead, I pivoted to some other waters in Scarlet Lake, an isometric survival horror. It has that fun laser sight gunplay gameplay, while being overtly inspired by Resident Evil mechanics otherwise. Recent comparisons might include Crow Country or Signalis. I tend to enjoy these. You're a detective sent to investigate a small town, but things immediately go awry, and now you're exploring the town, killing monstrosities, and getting keys to progress, of course. Classic stuff, solidly executed so far. Possibly government cover-up? Keycards, shotgun in the trunk of a cop car, newspaper clippings. Yeah, I think I'll be playing this one. A Corgi's Cozy Hike is a 3D platformer, exploration, collectathon, relaxation game. Each area has that playground mentality of just go around doing different activities, jumping, climbing, ground pounding, collecting things, helping out NPCs. You'll often get little rewards for that. But there's also plenty of opportunities to just take it easy. You can just lie in an inflatable donut or swing in a park if that's your speed in the moment. And you use the currency of bones to buy costumes. It's all very chill. The tone is honestly so cheery and vibrant that it came across as slightly unsettling to me, but I'm sure that works for people looking for full blast rainbows and sunshine. It's just sometimes, if it's oppressively cheery, it's actually not relaxing anymore for me. That being said, I'd rather an overly gleeful game than a game with a dumb sense of humor that thinks it's being cute. Those just become aggravating to me, and I think this is better than that. Anyway, I'm sure this one will be a delight. This solo developer also donates a percentage of game sales to dog charity causes, so that's perfectly fitting. DoubleShake is a 2D platformer that's basically a Tomba-like. You kick, grab, shake, and throw both items and foes to accomplish various things, and you can latch onto certain environmental structures to climb them or jump between them. It appears to be a slightly more open adventure than the more linear Tomba, with interconnected paths, but still has that traversal of going along those paths that can turn, sort of like Klonoa. Seems like it'll be a charming island adventure with both main objectives and side activities, things to collect, you know. I admire a throwback like this that knows exactly what it wants to homage and does it well, while still having its own identity. Completely fictional story about a city inside a whale is a top-down boating exploration adventure game. You're a wind-up boat inside a whale in which there is also a whole town of people who are mostly animals. The visual style is that kind of paper-crafty, cardboard-looking environment with cut-out characters. I like the way it looks. It has an interesting palette and modeling. The gameplay consists of puttering around, completing tasks for people, and collecting coins for purposes. What's neat is that everything is very tactile. You have to click to turn the key for your boat to build battery power. Then you have to switch between the different gears of neutral, reverse, or its 3 speeds. And the boat handling is heavy, so you have to anticipate turns and such. It gives it its own investment of your focus rather than being trivial travel. Also, you have to actually drag things oftentimes, and if you need to transport an object or person, it takes up the space on your boat deck. I feel like there must be upgrades to that and other attributes in the full release. Even in the demo, I got a set of wings that aided the battery system. The writing, by the way, is very tongue-in-cheek, sort of cartoon-esque. I think it's going for a mix of cozy and kooky. My only real bugbear is the game's title. It's too long for my tastes. It's like exhausting to type and to say. But who am I? Just a personal preference. I would have called it, I don't know, City in a Whale or Moored in Whaleville or something. I doubt this title will become metatextually clever in the plotting, but hey, could be wrong. Luna Abyss is a first-person shooter, more in the old-school style of things, and this was a great one to end the video on because it's a really fun demo. You're some kind of android or cyborg or construct, apparently made from the memories of someone long dead. You're raised up by some remote voice and given a task to work off your absurd prison sentence, but there are waves of enemies to blast through along the way. The whole thing takes place in this nebulous megastructure of metal, pipes, grates, cables, esoteric cybernetic madness. You're just crawling through the dark arteries of some enormous dead network in what the description calls the Mimic Moon Luna. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. It really reminded me of the world in the manga Blame, if you know what that is, design-wise. The gameplay is Doom-esque, in that you're dodging slow-moving enemy projectiles that come at you in clusters and patterns. The big difference here is the truly powerful lock-on, which makes things trivial at first, but I'm sure it'll become kind of necessary as the combat encounters get more and more complex. Either way, it's just plain fun to dance around and abuse the lock-on. There's also a fair amount of platforming in the game, which I enjoy, of course. Also, it seems like you'll have some interesting characters to meet and talk to. So we'll see how the story unfolds, but I like it aesthetically so far. It might just be the whole package of smooth gameplay and a killer aesthetic. Hopefully you saw something here to wishlist. Frighteningly, I played even more demos than this recently, so stay tuned for a part 2 video. Subscribing would help with that. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.